Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Ken Schneider, Divisional Senior Vice President at Great American Insurance Group. Thanks for joining me, Ken.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm glad to be here today.
No, I'm glad to have you on here, sir. I'm glad to have a representative from Great American Insurance Group on the program. Guys have been around. I've known you since you guys were Premier Lease and Loan way back in the day.
Yeah.
So, glad to have someone on here, man.
Great. Thanks.
So for individuals in equipment finance, Ken, who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career to date?
Yeah. So I started in insurance over 30 years ago, straight out of college. You know, when you're in college, I don't think anybody that says I'm going to go in the insurance industry, right? So,
No.
but I played a sport in college, and that's like a full-time job. But after I got done playing my senior year, I got a co-op job at another insurance carrier here in Cincinnati, and it kind of took interest in some of the things that I was shown there. So when I got out of college, I took a job and as a claims adjuster. And as soon as I took that job, the company I was in training, and 6 weeks into training, Hurricane Hugo hit in 1989. And they shipped me down there as a 22-year-old young college graduate to work hurricane claims. And I had never seen anything like it before. So it was kind of baptism by fire. I was out there adjusting claims, finding homes that were no longer homes. And so I worked 39 straight days adjusting claims. And I remember calling back home and saying, if this is like work, I don't know if I like it. I think I might want to go back to college.
I can imagine you're sitting there asking like sort of business questions when someone's possessions were all just their lives are just wiped away, and you're like, "Well, are you sure?" It's like,
yeah,
dude.
I mean, it was devastating. I mean, just to see, some of the families. The good thing is we were there to help them put them back to where they could
Absolutely.
be previously. So it was eye-opening, but so I worked there 39 straight days, came back. The company I was working for was based here in Cincinnati, and I got back, and on my desk were 2 plane tickets. At that time, they used to issue plane tickets. And they said, you did such a good job. Now we want you to move down there. So picked up my stuff, went down and lived in North Carolina for a couple of years as an outside adjuster. Learned the business a lot. That's a great place to start in insurance as claims. And then they brought me back to home office into product management, underwriting, and then from there, I worked at the company for about 10 years, and then went out and worked for another insurance company. The president left, and I went with him to another insurance company, and then worked there a couple of years, and then came to Great American, which has really been a great career move for me. It's a Cincinnati stable company, and very family oriented. Was very lucky to come on board here. And at that time, I was hired to come into a division, which at the time was Premier Lease and Loan Services Division, which is an agency that we had just bought out in Bellevue, Washington. And we had just bought that agency, which actually started in this equipment finance space back in 1984. We came in and became the carrier and part of that business, and supporting the equipment finance area. I was hired on to help build that business at that time, mainly from an underwriting standpoint. At that time, we also had to hire salespeople because we didn't have anybody out there banging down the doors at the time.
Sure.
We were lucky because Premier Lease and Loan Services Agency and our division at that time within Great American had some direct salespeople we were able to leverage. So I worked in that space for a couple years, and then another opportunity came up within our division with some warranty business, where they asked me to go over and manage that, which I did for about 5 years. And then they asked me to come back into this business in 2000 and I think it was around 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And I've been in that since, supporting it mainly from a business development standpoint and our underwriting groups. I oversee those within our division. And so it's been a good career. I really enjoy it. I've really enjoyed meeting the folks in the equipment finance space, our clients. Some of them I consider them close friends.
Nope, absolutely. And you mentioned that Bellevue office. It's been a minute since I've been up there, probably 10, 12 years, but it's beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. So most people, that's where our service center is for our tracking service. And um, it's most people say, why in Bellevue, Washington? Well, that's where the agency we bought was. That's where the business
Sure.
started at. And the expertise was there. And it continues to be there. There's a lot of great people to work in that office out there. We've had to deal with COVID and the hybrid environment now, which actually makes it sometimes easier to hire now from a customer service
Sure.
standpoint. And
Sure.
so, but the years of experience that our folks, I think the average tenure, don't quote me on this number, but I think the average tenure out there is 15 plus years in that center out there for our service. And our claims are out there, our contact center is out there. So um, roughly probably a little over 50 employees based out
Wow.
of that office out there.
Well, and not to say that the tower in the background that you have there, where you're located, where you're sitting today, isn't a beautiful building. I mean,
Yeah.
you have. I'm jealous of the view. I think I'd be just sitting in that conference room watching baseball during any day games I could. I mean, it's a great American ballpark, man.
Yeah, it's we have the naming rights to Cincinnati Reds ballpark. So yeah, it's Cincinnati is a great place to raise a family. So I've been lucky. I've been lucky to be able to be based here in Cincinnati.
And the fact that when you fly into Covington, it's actually in Kentucky, which is extremely confusing. You're just like, what?
Yeah, you do fly into northern Kentucky, and then yeah, then come across the river. So I actually live in northern Kentucky, so it's nice. It's halfway between here and downtown. So
You're in the bourbon mecca, man.
yeah,
So it's perfect.
yeah.
Um, so I think before recording, you mentioned that there's 36 different divisions within Great American, and equipment finance is one of those.
Yes. So within Great American Insurance Group, we have 36 divisions that Great American's a commercial specialty insurance carrier. So certain industries that we service that we have other divisions that have insurance products that offer out to the industry or in the agriculture space, construction space, transportation is another big space that we play in. Crop insurance. We're one of the top crop insurance carriers in the United States. Marine, and then financial institution services like us in the equipment finance space. So various commercial specialty areas that 36 divisions within Great American, which makes it very diverse, right? We have a very diverse
Sure.
avenue. So if one area is not doing well, there's droughts and crop insurance isn't doing one. We have other areas that hopefully are doing well that make it a very diverse company. And it's been very successful in the past.
And I even recently found out that you guys do nonprofit
Mhm.
insurance. That's who we use for cares. I did not know that. I was like,
Yes.
Dave, any help here? And sure enough,
Yeah.
you guys introduced me to somebody. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
that.
So not nonprofits is a big one. And I know we'll talk probably a little bit about equipment finance care. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that is a space that
yeah.
we play into, or especially human services division handles that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to dive into first was kind of the culture that Great American Insurance Group, brings to the table. I mean, I see the way that yourself, your account managers, your other specialty people within Great American interact with clients. I mean, it's seems more of a personal relationship with customers than a business venture. So, just kind of wanted to talk through that philosophy again and how it helps you guys.
Yeah. I think. our culture here is we look at our people are our greatest strengths, right? So we look at trying to develop talent. We look at, trying to make sure that we are developing leadership at all levels within our division. Um, and our folks here, we try to make it a culture where they want to come to work every day, and hopefully our clients see that. Hopefully the people in the industry see that as, it's genuine. I think people have a passion for what they do every day and trying to help our clients and what they need. And so I think culture is a big part of why we've been successful. So it's we take a lot when we sit down and do our objectives for the year and our KRAs, and we build them around making sure we develop a good culture here so people stay.
Perfect. And how are you growing and I guess just kind of cultivating your workforce? Are you finding, I know you mentioned, so you have Bellevue, you have Cincinnati. COVID's easier to hire remote people. Are you, a lot of people that I know are from Cincinnati that work for you.
Yeah.
So are you, like, how are you doing that, Ken?
So, couple ways. One way is we've done a really good job, and I will say we have a great human resources division here that supports all the divisions, and they do a great job of networking locally with universities, and allow us to go out to universities and talk to folks. I've networked with some local universities here where we've got a lot of really good interns that have come in and worked while they're going to school, but they work here, during the day on days that they don't have a heavy school load. And eventually, most of them take a job once they're graduated from those universities. So it's been a great, I think, a good partnership with Great American Insurance Group with these universities, because we've been able to get some really highly quality people out of those universities that, hopefully someday will be in leadership roles within our company.
Perfect. And then I think Cincinnati just joined the Big 12. So I'm excited. This now, what I think West Virginia might be there next year or the year after. So, you know, excited for that.
Yeah, that's both my boys. One's still at University of Cincinnati, and the other one just graduated. And so we do follow that, both from a football side and a basketball side. Yeah, it's exciting. It's great to see their basketball program right now. I think they've played 5 straight games against top 25 teams. So it's a great conference to be in for them. So I think great for the city too. It's, you can go watch well, I know Texas is leaving to go to the SEC, but when you're able to go watch Texas come and play a football or a basketball game here, it's pretty exciting.
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, the Big 12 schedule is a grinder for
Yeah.
sure. Um, and I know another thing that Great American, the way I just see, is the investment that kind of you make in your people. I mean, every event. I mean, I'm going to a NIFA event. I mean, by the time this airs, it would have already happened. But next week, and you have a handful of individuals going. I mean, Great American always rolls strong at industry events, and just kind of wanted to talk about that investment that you make in your people again.
Yeah, I think it's Jesse. I think it's both people and it's giving back to the industry, right? I had a mentor of mine when I first got into this business that told me, he said, Ken, one thing that you want to do is get involved. And he said, not just become a member of an association, but get involved and volunteer and give back. And that stuck with me. And that was early on in my career. And so I've tried to pass that on to folks here, that, everybody, it doesn't matter if you're an account manager or you're a divisional officer, you take the time to get involved. And so we've got several people. I think we're up to about 9 people now that are on committees or actually working and volunteering within these associations. If that's ELFA, NIFA, or up in CFLA. I do some things I'm on some committees up at CFLA and Canada because we do business up there as well. So it's really, and again, we push it across all of our employees to try to, to get involved. So it's really great to see that they do take the time and volunteer to do that. I know we have one of our employees that volunteers to help out Equipment Finance Cares. So it's
Yeah.
great to see that they do that, because I think you've done a great job of developing that nonprofit organization to do some great things. So it's great to see that we have somebody helping out as well in there.
No, and thank you for that, Ken. And yeah, we'll touch on that in a couple minutes here. But I mean, it's one thing when someone throws their hand up and says, "Hey, I want to volunteer," but it's another thing that you're actually providing them the financial resources to do it, because we know that that's not it's not a cheap investment. That's for sure.
No, no.
And I guess while we're on kind of the trade associations, do you remember your first conference that you went to?
I do. It was in New Orleans. It was at ELFA.
Oh, so
Um,
baptism by fire, right?
it was. I had just been hired here at Great American, and so I went down to New Orleans and had no idea what the industry was about. But I will tell you one thing, Jesse. I got there, and the people was the difference. I mean, people were very open and inviting. That when I started asking questions, they were more than happy to answer them and tell them, like, if you need anything, please call me. And so, because I was green, I didn't understand the equipment finance space. I didn't understand what lessors did. I mean, it was very eye opening, and there was a couple of gentlemen that really, I met for the first time there, and today they are friends of mine because of what they were open armed to bring some young guy in to listen, to ask a lot of questions, and they listened to me and provided a lot of guidance for me. So I appreciate that.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I still remember mine. I mean, speaking of hurricanes, mine was Hurricane Wilma in
Mhm.
2005. That was my that was my
Ooh,
experience on.
ooh. Hopefully you got out before it hit.
No,
No,
no, I think
stay there, rode it out.
I was one of four people on the plane from Newark to West Palm. It's like maybe I shouldn't be doing this, but it was better for the situation and being a 23-year-old at the time, having maybe a couple hundred people as opposed to 1,000
Yeah,
actually was to my benefit, because it allowed an easier path in. Because as well as, I mean, even though 1,000 people at a conference is still relatively small compared to some of these monstrosities that you constantly see in like Vegas per se,
yeah, yeah.
still when you walk into a room and it's like everyone knows each other, it can be a little intimidating. But one of the things I appreciate about this industry is kind of like what happened to you happened to me, and it happens to the majority of people. It's like you see someone deer in headlights, it's like, let's go talk to this person and introduce them around. um, so you guys are ELFA, NEFA, CFLA. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, we do have some other, we like AED and certain things that we have, you know, and other organizations that we reach out to with some of the other products that we have to offer. Yes.
Got it. Got it. Um, and I always appreciate you guys pretty much sponsor everything you go to. So you guys are giving back. So thank you, Ken.
You're welcome. And again, it's not just that. Again, we're happy to sponsor by doing stuff like that, but it's also putting the time and effort in to help the associations. I think that's just as key.
Yeah. Well, and I think I've been to a few events at your office that you hosted, like the association and like regional events there too. So
Yeah.
thank you
Yep.
for that. Um, one of the other topics that I think is always important to discuss in this industry is succession planning. Do you mind just kind of talking about how Great American Insurance Group is kind of how you guys are doing that today, Ken?
Yeah, I think that's a key here is when we sit down every year, we talk about, well, what is our succession plan? Um, Yeah, just within our division here, and especially equipment, we have some folks that have been part of this business for 20 plus years. So there's going to be some timetable here where others are going to have to start to take over some of the things that we do. So we do a lot of looking at the folks underneath them and how do we develop them? How do we give them key jobs that are key opportunities to develop in certain jobs? Sometimes we talk about tour of duty, like they will take a tour of duty. It might be in underwriting, and it might be in account management, it might be in the service area or leading the service area. So we try to get them exposed to certain areas so that, again, when others go to down the road, they have to, they might retire or leave here someday, that we do have succession to fill those voids. And we have some really good young talent. And I know you talked about it. They're going to conferences right now. They're getting involved. It's real exciting to see the development in those folks.
No, and it's nice when you first see them, you're like, ah, fantastic. And then you just keep seeing them and you get to know them over time and everything else. So definitely some exciting times. And you said something interesting there, which I definitely appreciate, and it's refreshing, where it's trial, a little bit trial by fire, where it's like, hey, you want to go out, and especially someone who's been in a business development role his entire career, it's like, understand what exactly you're selling before you
Yes,
sell it.
yes, yes.
So you do have people that kind of go around and do their tour of duty and learning the different sides of everything else. That's fantastic.
Yes. And that's we're looking for right now, we're looking for an entry level sales position. And that's what we've talked about is they're going to sit in each area and take, they're going to do a tour of duty, maybe 6 weeks here, 2 months here, so they can learn the business. Because that's very important. So when they're out there talking to prospects or clients, we want them to understand, listen to the clients, understand their needs, and then know, okay, this is how we can help you. So, um, it takes an investment because sometimes that might take a year or two to get somebody to that point, but it's real important that they really understand our business before they're out there and calling on people to talk to them about how we can help them.
Yeah, and the challenge you have is you get some young, I'm going to be date myself, like whippersnapper that's like, what is this? This isn't selling. But what they don't understand or appreciate is the fact that once they get somebody and have a conversation, all that stuff is just going to become second nature. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's definitely refreshing to hear that, and it's also a lot easier to, not as easy to burn somebody out where you just throw them a phone like, hey, you go, have fun, especially in equipment finance, right? Where if you sit there and it's like, oh, there's 5,000 companies out there. All right, well, how many of those are brokers?
Right. Right. Right.
uh, so I want to shift gears a little bit to equipment finance cares. So when we were starting down this road, I want to say in 2021, I reached out and just said, hey, this is kind of what we're doing. Do you guys have any interest? Does Great American Insurance have any interest in being a sponsor to put on some of these events? And without hesitation, Ken, you yourself and your team just said absolutely. And we're going on what, almost our third full year of doing this, and you guys have been kind of a pillar for us. So thank you for not only your financial donations but also the human capital that you've sent to these events. And you guys even hosted one 2 years ago, which was fantastic.
Jesse, I applaud you. I applaud you for starting this up because it's very important. I think, we talk about giving back. I mean, what you're doing, and by giving back to nonprofit organizations that need help, and bringing people in the industry together to do that, I think is a very important thing. I mean, I saw what you sent out recently of some of the nonprofit associations that you've helped. Some of those are dear to my heart. So I really appreciate what you've done, and Great American is very proud to be a part of that and helping you.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I mean, between Dave, Sean, I think we've always had representation from the group at all of our events, and as I mentioned in there, I think we doubled our sponsors last year, and I think we're on pace to do that again this year. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for organizations like you. So thank you.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think I saw you said in your thing that you raised over $25,000 to give to these charities last year. That's awesome. And again, I know Sean, has been a big part of that, helping you. And I continue to tell him to keep doing that because it's very important. And when what you're doing, equipment finance cares.
Thank you, and we'll look to double that number this year. So
That's awesome.
we got to go big,
Yeah,
right?
that's great.
So Ken, what makes you tick outside of insurance and equipment finance?
Um, I would say like right after this, Jesse, right after this interview, I'm actually I got to get to practice. I coach a high school basketball team.
Okay.
Been coaching for the last 30 plus years. After I got out of college, I started coaching. And when I moved back here to Cincinnati area, I started coaching high school soccer. Um, and uh, and that's just developed as I started having kids. I coached them as they were growing up, but that's been a passion of mine, is to try to give back. So local high school, I coach here. It's a girls basketball team, freshman girls basketball. Um, I'm lucky because I'm able to kind of have my schedule where I can do it at times. Lucky I have really good assistants that can be there when I'm gone on the road. But
Sure.
it's really been it's really positive. I'm lucky because my wife is very understanding because I'm not around much during basketball season. But it's I love giving back to something that I can help younger kids, and so that's kind of what I do when I'm not working. I'm out there coaching or traveling. My wife and we've got to the point in our lives we love to travel. We went to Italy this past year, and just
Uh,
phenomenal country. I love would definitely go back there someday. So traveling and coaching, that's kind of been my thing outside of work.
that's fantastic. Yeah. I've been, I guess, privileged to be some sort of coach for Jeremy since he was 5. Now he's almost 15. It's just I'm not I travel too much to be a head coach. But just to be an assistant and be out there to be with them and just kind of have that part, and good. That's awesome that you're giving back like that, making an imprint on people's lives.
Thank you.
Where are you going this year? I mean, if you went to Italy, I mean, where do you mean?
So this year, my daughter, who's a seventh grader, is wanted to go to Hawaii, and so we've gone ahead and booked places to stay in Hawaii, and so this summer we're going to take her when she gets out of school. We're going to take her to Hawaii. So that will be our big trip for this year.
Perfect. Perfect. Hawaii is beautiful. I've only been there once, but it's beautiful.
Never been there, so I'm looking forward to it.
So I guess Ken, at the end of the day, why should an organization in equipment finance want to do business with Great American Insurance Group?
Well, Jesse, as I told you before, I think again, it's our people. I think we do a great job going out. We listen to our clients. Um, we look for ways to hopefully make insurance so it's not a bad experience. It's more of a positive experience.
Sure.
Because I know in the lease origination process, sometimes insurance is a roadblock, right? Insurance can be a roadblock because they got to have insurance before they can fund the deal. With us, we tried to take that roadblock away. So over the last 3 years, we've really heavily invested in our digital technology area so that we can make it easier for our clients to do business with us and their customers. So the insurance doesn't become a roadblock. It actually is hopefully an enhancement to what they have to offer now. So I really think that's what sets us apart at Great American is we listen to our customers. They tell us the things that they would like to have, and over the years, we started out with one product. You know, When I first started, we had one product to sell. Now we have anywhere from 10 to 15 products to sell because, and that was from our customers telling us the needs that they have. We develop products to meet those needs. So over the years, I think that's been a key thing for us. And as you said earlier, again, it's the people. This industry has just been amazing. The people that I've met, and the knowledge that they have, and they're willing to diverse that knowledge back. That if you listen instead of always talking, and you listen, you can take in some of that knowledge. And I think our team here has done that, which has made us successful in this industry.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, sir. So I really appreciate your time today, Ken. Look forward to being with your team next week and probably catching up with you sometime in Q1. I'm sure our paths will cross at some point.
Well, thanks for having me today, Jesse. I appreciate it. And again, thanks for putting together Equipment Finance Cares. It's a great organization. And I love what you guys do for the outside nonprofit organizations that you deal with.
Thank you, Ken. Have a good day, sir.
You too. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.